Hi everyone, welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert K. Sakos is your usual suspect once again. I hope you guys are enjoying all that midweek action right from the Premier League on match day 14, just as much as you probably did for some select games there in the Spanish La Liga. Things did kick off on Tuesday as Barcelona beat up against Real Mallorca in a 5-1 victory, while on Wednesday, Real Madrid did suffer a 2-1 defeat against Athletic Bilbao. In the Premier League, it has been an exciting match day 14 that did kick off with Crystal Palace beating up against Ipswich Town by a goal to nil on Tuesday thanks to Joan Felipe Mateta, while on the same day, Jamie Vardy was on target as Leicester City recorded their first victory under new manager Ruud van Nistelrooy to give him the perfect start in that 3-1 victory over West Ham United, who, by the way, are pondering whether to sack their manager in Julian Lopetegui just 7 months into his role with the London club there. So the Hammers, of course, did deploy the former Wolverhampton manager in the summer, and things have not really been clicking so well for him so far. I think they've won just one game in their last five. That was a 2-0 victory over Newcastle a couple of weeks back, but they did lose to Arsenal in there over the weekend, 5 goals to 2, then losing to Leicester City by 3 goals to 1. That means they've conceded as many as 8 goals in just the last two fixtures. For me, for the little spells that I've watched them, or the few of their games that I've watched them, they just do not defend that ball well. They want to play very high defensive line, and yet I find their defenders quite slow to be able to catch up with the opponents every time they are caught to the break, or every time they penetrate their defense and things of that nature. But anyway, match day 14 did continue in exciting fashion on Wednesday as the table leaders Liverpool shared the spoils with Newcastle at St James's Park in a 3-all draw. Alexander Isak with an incredible goal in that particular game, while Mo Salah did pick a brace in that particular game as well, looking very brilliant. He thought he had won it there for the Reds, but the Magpies, I think through Fabian Schär, did strike back late on in the game to restore parity to ensure that they go away with the point there. Of course, they did take the lead twice in that game, but had conceded both leads, the 1-0 lead and then the 2-1 lead, and eventually a 3-2 lead for Liverpool. But that was cancelled in spectacular fashion as we enjoyed that action. So quite a brilliant result for Ed Howe's side, but one that Anna Slot did think was a hard one for them to take. He thought they should have been awarded a penalty for what appeared to be a handball. I think, was it off Dunban? I'm not so sure, but for me it wasn't really a deliberate handball. Yes, the ball did strike his arm, but the hand was in its natural position and all that thing. So it wasn't a penalty. The right decision was made by the on-pitch referee not to award the penalty, and even the VAR review just confirmed that very decision. Still on the same day, the surprise result for me was Everton beating up against Wolverhampton Wanderers by 4 goals to 0. This is an Everton side that did come in this particular game on the back of a similar squad defeat against Manchester United, while Manchester City did bounce back from their 7 games without a victory with a 3-0 victory over Nottingham Forest. Kevin De Bruyne, one of the players on target in that particular fixture, as Man City bounced back to winning ways in spectacular fashion. Chris Wood had an opportunity to restore parity when that game was still 1-0, but he fired wide of the mark, and then there's a point there in where Stefan Ortega is forced into a brilliant save as Nottingham Forest tried to press Man City, but again Man City showed their dominancy, which paid off, and they won that particular game by 3 goals to 0. And then the other spectacular result, one that we did pretty much expect, as we did mention on Monday, was Chelsea beating up against Southampton by 5 goals to 1. 5 different goal scorers in that one. In the absence of Wesley Fofana through injury, you would have thought maybe Chelsea would have struggled a bit, but then Axel Disasi, one of the players on target in that particular game, they are looking brilliant. Then Cole Palmer on target, I think, as well as Anoni Madueke. the likes of Christopher Nkuku. We're talking about an Enzo Maresca, who many of us did have doubts over when he was brought in to replace a departing, Mauricio Pochettino, who had been at the helm of Chelsea for just one season. We had our doubts, we had our reservations because his only experience was managing Leicester City to the Championship last season. So, yes, we had our doubts. We knew what Chelsea's problems are. They had a bloated squad. He came in, took, the slasher and sliced off some players, the likes of Raheem Sterling, told them point blank, there's no space for you in this squad as big as it is because, they had over 40 players. And that bloated squad is what is helping them to, rotate their team. That is why you have the ability, Chelsea has the ability to literally field a new starting lineup for every competition that they play in. You find them in a Carabao Cup with a different starting 11, one in the Premier League different, another in the UEFA Conference League that's totally different. And the beauty of it for me is that all of them are performing. The way they are winning games, they're scoring plenty of goals, they're not conceding too many on the other side. Yes, Enzo Maresca does continue to reiterate that there's a lot they need to improve so that they can be competitive. But for me, they are already in the conversation for the title pursuit because, they're second on the Premier League table. What else does one need to do to get into the title conversation? They're winning their games, they're scoring plenty of goals, they're not conceding so many. When they get injuries to the likes of Richie James, they have the ability to cover that up. You look at the likes of Ben Chilwell, all upset, and yet players just keep popping up and delivering. 1 week you have Noni Madueke performing. Another week is absent and it's Jordan Sancho stepping up. Another week it's Joao Felix. Another week it's Mukalo Modric providing the assist. That kind of thing. And the likes of Malo Gusto and those kinds of things. They've been really incredible. In that midfield of Moises Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez, Romeo Lavia, players are really, really trying. They're putting in the shift and they're looking really brilliant. And it's quite impressive to watch. To be honest, I think Arsenal fans or even other club fans or Manchester United fans will be feeling pain about the kind of progress that Chelsea have been able to make in such a short spell under Enzo Maresca, because what the 18 months or 2 years of Tony Body had defined Chelsea as was they were a struggling team. They were slicing through managers like a knife in butter. Everything looked unstable, and yet Enzo Maresca has managed to, put that aside. I think managed 21 games so far with Chelsea, has about just 4 losses and 4 draws. The others are all victories. So clearly, things are really clicking for them and they're doing everything right. Then in the other fixture of the day, Aston Villa did bounce back to winning ways after a run of 8 games without a victory as they beat up against Brentford by 3-1. And then the biggest game of the midweek did come still on Wednesday as Arsenal beat up against Manchester United by 2-0. A lot of mourning. I do not know why, from Manchester United fans, from neutral fans. Dimitar Berbatov there describing Arsenal as the Stoke City. There's a bit of animosity there in regards to how Arsenal won this game. But for me, in my opinion, I think, and perhaps that of Mikel Arteta, is that it won't matter how they won, but the fact that they did win, that they kept a clean sheet, that they got the 3 points, and they move on to the next match in which they play Fulham. So, looking at the game in specificity, there I was quite really impressed by Manchester United in the manner in which they applied themselves, especially in the first half. They closed down Arsenal. They denied them spaces. They denied them that fluidity consistently, which saw Arsenal create very few chances. And still, some of the best chances that Arsenal did receive, even in the first half, were from set pieces. You remember that corner kick that is floated in, and Thomas Partey, in an attempt to head it home, he sort of plays that ball with his shoulder and it goes just wide. An inch inwards, it could have been on target because Andre Onana didn't seem like he was well positioned to make a save should that ball have been on target. But that notwithstanding, I thought United were really compact. They did play a low block. For me, I actually envisioned that because the moment I saw their lineup, a back three plus those two sort of fullbacks, which makes it a back five, a compact midfield there, it, the writing was on the wall that this was going to be a compact game for Ruben Amorim's side. And I mean, you do not blame him. Even if I were him, I would have played the same way, knowing that you're going away to Arsenal, a team that likes to possess the ball, a team that can really put you to the strings. That they can be expansive, they can pass that ball and until you hit, sort of running after it. So they chose to be compact. They denied Arsenal spaces. They killed their creativity. I did get the feel that Martin Odegaard and Bukayo Saka sort of struggled to find their footing in the game, to find that consistency in terms of, player-to-player interplay down that right wing. And Tyler Malacia was quite sensational in that particular fixture in the way he played up against Bukayo Saka. But when all that was done and dusted, Arsenal, once again, once they realized that this is not really clicking for us, we are failing to create as very decent chances in open play, then they leveraged on their strength, which is in dead ball situations, which is in corner kicks, and that is where their two goals came. Urian Timber flicking that ball beyond the reach of Andre Onana, who didn't really have much to do in that instance to get the lead. And then minutes later, of course, Thomas Partey hits that ball that then deflects off the back of William Saliba's body to hit the back of the net. Again, of course, there's this argument of Arsenal players try to impede the goalkeeper, they do this and that. I mean, it's not like it's rocket science. Teams look at this footage week in, week out. They know what Arsenal are going to do in a set piece. They have just figured out how to stop them because Arsenal also keep tweaking their methodology. When you remember Gabriel Magalhaes, when he was scoring that head against West Ham last weekend, again, the run of play was a bit different from the goals that they scored against Manchester United. So, I mean, all credit goes to Nicolas Jova. I've seen jokes about how Arsenal may as well let go of Mikel Arteta and retain Nicolas Jova because they become a set-piece team. I mean, this is just, rattled fans, fans that feel that, had it not been for set pieces, Arsenal wouldn't have won that game. I think Ruben Amorim did, send a similar signal in that respect. I mean, it's football. Even the set pieces themselves, the corner kicks and all that, they are part of the game. He did mention something in the region of Gabriel Martinelli and Bukayo Saka trying to force corners. I mean, when you look at the warm-up, videos, there's one I've particularly seen myself. When Manchester United were warming up, they were training on how to defend against Arsenal corners. So they knew this was coming. They knew that was one of Arsenal's strengths, and they trained to try and mitigate those risks. Unfortunately, Arsenal just proved to be much better than them, or United weren't better poised to defend against them. And there was another opportunity again, I think, that fell to Mikel Merino, still off a corner kick. That ball flashes just slightly wide the mark. So Arsenal had the chances. United, how many did they have on the other side? I don't seem to remember, but it could have been one or two, if not zero. Anyway, so Arsenal dominated the possession and all that, but I appreciated United's effort, the energy they put in, the shift, the tackles they went in for. They fought for the 50-50 balls, so much so that Amadou Diallo had almost, gone past Alexander Zinchenko, who then pulls him back. And as soon as he does that, Mikel Arteta is not risking that. He goes on to bring on Mikel Merino. Mikel Merino steps in midfield. There's a swap between Urian Timber from right back to left back. Thomas Partey goes to right back, and that kind of thing. Again, both managers try to tweak their tactics to get the advantage. Only that Mikel Arteta got it better, which was pretty much expected. I mean, he's well deep into his project. He's built a title pursuing squad, while Ruben Amorim is just in his fourth game, and he's gotten all the praises he does deserve, by the way. given the manner in which they applied themselves. Now, Arsenal still have a date with Manchester United come early January because they did book a date with them as far as the FA Cup, I think fourth or third round is concerned. So again, we'll wait to see that fixture and see how they apply themselves. Maybe by that time the context will be slightly different. Maybe the squads in terms of players that are available they will have could be different. Of course, we know that Manchester United were without their two key players in Kobe Mino and Lisandro Martinez due to yellow card suspensions, having accumulated, I think, about 5 yellow cards apiece. So in that context, so I do understand where Manchester United fans are coming from, and they're indeed very justified in the manner in which they've gone about the analysis of the game in terms of how they're not putting so much pressure on their manager. They understand, they saw the positives from that particular game despite the loss, but also maybe as food for thought, I thought creatively Manchester United were lacking. They didn't create many goal scoring opportunities. Yes, they did force David Raya, I think, in a save or two, but they didn't create enough goal scoring opportunities. There have been complaints from some section of Manchester United fans why the manager had rested so many players. I mean, he did explain that, saying it's simply rotation, and at this time you need it. For teams like Arsenal, for teams like Man City, for teams like Liverpool, who are up pursuing the title just as much as Chelsea, you need the rotation to give your key players a bit of rest, and because there are so many games that are coming thick and fast. But as for Manchester United's context, remember the manager is new. He's trying to get to understand his players more as they play, to understand who is well suited for what kind of game and all those kinds of things. Who has more energy, who is a better passer than the other, how do we tweak things? If plan A is not working, which players do I look onto? So just because Joshua Zirkzee scored a brace over the weekend, there's no guarantee that he's going to score a brace in the next one. So there's also that bit in mind. He wants that by the time he gets to, to maybe to January, and they have room to buy a player or two, he knows where to slot that player. He knows the kind of player that he needs. So he needs that rotation. And away from just January, by the time we get to summer, which will be a huge transfer window for himself, again, you will need to know which players am I going to let go, which players am I retaining, who has room for improvement, who do I think I cannot improve as a player, what do I need, what do I want, and all that kind of thing. So for me, I really do understand when he tries to rotate his team, and Manchester United fans will have to get accustomed to that until the end of the season, until he figures out what his strongest starting 11 is. Also bearing in mind that there are so many games to be played. You have the Europa League, you have the Premier League, FA Cup is coming, you're still in the Carabao Cup, and things of that nature. So anyways, do let me know what your thoughts are on those particular results, on those particular matches, what your thoughts were, what you made of them. Those were my thoughts about them. If you're new, do not forget to subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share. But match day 14 does continue on Thursday with two fixtures on card. Fulham up against Brighton at 10:30 p.m. while at 11:15 p.m. that's East African time, Bournemouth will be at home against Tottenham Hotspurs. By the way, Tottenham Hotspurs will be coming up in the weekend to face off with Chelsea there in that London derby. Very, very incredible fixture to look forward to. Just as much as I mentioned in a footnote that Arsenal will be facing Fulham next, because that's another London derby. Last season, I remember, I think Fulham beating up against Arsenal by 2-1, while they had forced them into a 2-2 draw at the Emirates Stadium. So those are key fixtures you ought to look forward to as the weekend, draws closer. Do let me know what your thoughts are, and I'll see you next time. Stay blessed and have a wonderful rest of the week leading through the weekend. Stay blessed.